Hi, and welcome to THORsday Comics. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Star and the Solar Legion. I'm also the creator of WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic book that's currently part of an ongoing Kickstarter campaign. We're very close to reaching our goal, and if we do, the WITCHMAN comic book will be a reality. To find out more about WITCHMAN, follow the link in the show notes below. So this is Thor number 127 with just a really excellent cover, possibly an inspiration for the famous Supergirl Crisis on Infinite Earths cover, or maybe both of them were inspired by the Death of Robin cover from the 1950s. In any event, what makes Jack Kirby's comics great is not the cover, but what's inside. We're reading the Marvel Treasury Edition Mighty Thor version, which is how I initially read these stories. And in that Treasury Edition, it really is an early graphic novel. When you collect this ongoing soap opera and collect a chunk of it, which really does tell a nice, mostly self-contained story, it's just a tremendous reading experience. Each one kind of flows into the next. So previously we were looking at issue 126. As far as I know, a first for Jack Kirby, where almost the entire story was an extended fight scene, something that would become a little more common for Jack Kirby. It wasn't his standard operating procedure, but he would do more comics of this type. And it also, harkened back to some of the Golden Age Marvel comics, Human Torch versus Submariner being, sort of an ongoing multi-part battle between those two superheroes. Thor's battle with Hercules ended with defeat for Thor, and now he's feeling immense shame, curling himself up, gripping his hammer in shame. The Hammer and the Holocaust, possibly the most magnificent chronicle of Thor ever presented by Stan Lee, writer, Jack Kirby, artist, Vince Colletta, delineator, Sam Rosen, letterer. And as always, Jack Kirby is not just the artist of this comic, he's also the co-writer. Thor, wait, even though Hercules has defeated you in battle, nothing has changed between us. I love you as much as ever, my darling. Begone, Jane Foster. You no longer speak to mighty Thor. Instead, you see before you a hollow mockery of him who had been God of Thunder. As punishment for my rash defiance of his will, my father hath stripped me of half my power. I know not what further indignity may await me, but the guilt was mine alone. So must the penance be mine. None shall share it with me. This is new territory for a superhero comic. It's going to become the standard paradigm for the Marvel comics to follow, but at this point, this is pretty new stuff. A self-flagellating, recriminating superhero who has to deal with failure. No, you cannot expect me to forsake you now, not when you need me the most. When I saw you defeated by Hercules, I realized how much I truly loved you. Say no more, though thy words are the words of love. They do carry the seeds of pity for the fallen Thor. Have I not been humbled enough? Must Thor become an object of sympathy as well? So he sort of skulks off in kind of, and I like the way he's using his cape here as sort of a Phantom of the Opera kind of thing, a sort of, brooding character. She wants to continue, she wants to follow him, but there's a car accident. As a nurse, she has to go there and help. So she would pursue Thor, but she can't. Interesting that Thor didn't notice this too, but maybe he's gone by this point, but it might be an interesting wrinkle, the idea of Thor ignoring his Hippocratic oath while Jane Foster is true to that sense of duty as a medical professional. Meanwhile, as the victorious Hercules is en route to Hollywood to star in an upcoming motion picture series based upon his exploits, we turn to Stardust Studios, where feverish preparations are now in progress. Boy, this takes the cake. They're redesigning the whole blamed studio just on account of the new Hercules movie. Imagine the new producer designing himself an office like this. He must think he's some kind of tin god or something. Yeah, they even hired a special producer for the picture, some nut named Pluto. So yeah, we get this beautiful Kirby-scape. And look at this amazing piece of sculpture that's being wheeled in. And we see Pluto. Silence, you have been engaged to work, not to speak disparagingly of your betters. How could you even hope to fathom the truth about one such as I? Sorry, Mr. Pluto, no offense meant. We'll get right to work. No wonder Stardust hired him. Who'd have the nerve to say no to a creep like that? Get out, all of you. You are dismissed. I wish to be alone now. And so now he's speaking to one of his lackeys in hell, in Hades, via this spectral apparition. Eons ago, before the dawn of human memory, I was sentenced to rule the netherworld below. Only by finding a fit replacement can I be free of that odious destiny. But now at last I have found such a replacement. Even as I speak, the unsuspecting Hercules approaches, little dreaming the dread fate that awaits him. Now be gone, I must prepare for what is yet to be. So yeah, we have the introduction of Pluto, who is sort of the Loki of Hercules' pantheon. I think it's pretty smartly set up. No longer do I have stomach for the stifling city. I must fly to a place fit for a god to think. So yeah, this makes me think of, Manhattan in the summer. Everybody's got to go out to the Hamptons or the Catskills, somewhere to get away from the city, the stifling heat and hustle bustle of the city, and go someplace to kind of cool off. And Thor finds a rock to sit and think like the thinker and sit and brood. I must yet decide what to make of my remaining power, or shall I cast off the mantle of Thunder God? Has it been proven that mighty Thor hath been found unworthy? And so silently, seated upon a lonely promontory, the son of Odin searches his soul, racked by doubts, plagued by uncertainty, tortured by conscience. Truly there can be no more anguished spirit than that of a god in torment. And I'm curious, very well written, very interesting, but I'm curious what Kirby's margin notes would be saying in this moment. I'm curious the specifics that Thor's contemplating. This seems to mention that he's contemplating giving up being Thor altogether. But I wonder if maybe there's some other issue that Jack had in mind. And if I can track down, the original art to this, I might be able to find that out. But the indescribable agony of Thor is matched by that of lordly Odin, who can bear to observe the sight no longer from his vantage point in fabled Asgard. Enough. I can endure the tortured visage of my errant son no more. And I just have to note, I don't know if I've noted this before, but as a kid, the thing that kind of struck me the most about Thor and really interested me, in sort of the Kirby Thor comics was this idea of these, gods of antiquity with all this sort of high-tech Flash Gordon kind of stuff, this, computer scope and things. And I don't know if I've noted that, but it's, at this point, it's baked into the sauce of this comic. It wasn't there in the very, very beginning, but it's kind of slowly worked its way in, and it's just a really interesting aesthetic. And so now Seedring, who Odin had temporarily given him his power to administer the punishment of Thor, which he could not do. Now Seedring is realizing that he has the power, and this is his moment. And so he strikes Odin, and Odin is cursing him up and down. You dare? Verily, my lord, I dare. And I really like the silhouettes of Odin. When you see him up, in full lighting and see this, grand armor that he's wearing with the horns and stuff. But when you see him in silhouette, he looks almost like this sort of monstrous presence. It's pretty cool. Verily, my lord, I dare. Know you then that Odin calls thee traitor? Thy name shall live in infamy so long as memory endures. Though the power now is thine, the heritage be Odin's. Strike as thou wilt. I fight whilst there be breath within me. Empty words, my lord. None can withstand the Odin power, nay, not even he for whom it was named. It cannot end thus. Thou art not fit to rule. Power without conscience must be its own undoing. Noble words, my lord, a pity that they could not stem the fury of the Odin power. Thy reign is ended. The era of Seedring, the all-powerful, has now begun. Seedring, what fate hath befallen omnipotent Odin? Back, Balder, lower thy head. Pay homage to the new overlord of Asgard. Odin is dethroned. I am the power now. Swear allegiance to Seedring, or face the fury of the Odin power. Allegiance to such as thee, I would suffer damnation first. Now we cut back to Thor making his way back to Asgard, and he sees Heimdall imprisoned in a block of ethereal force. Turn back, noble Thor. Even thy might cannot save Asgard from what awaits thee beyond the gates. And Thor runs to Asgard. Really great composition there. Very Very dynamic. Turn back, God of thunder, lest thou too suffer our fate. What hath transpired for Odin to release such fury? 'Tis not thy father's doing, mighty one. He suffers a fate no better than ours. And now there's all these horses frozen by a magic spell. Now a ring of celestial flame, a burning ring of fire, surrounds him. And that voice, a voice I've heard before, a voice my father once did trust, the voice of Seedring the merciless. Yea, son of Odin, 'tis I who now rule Asgard, and hence the world. You have seen the fate of those who defied me, but you need not share that fate. So this is really cool. It's Thor versus a power far greater than his. He faced his equal in Hercules. Now he's facing somebody much more powerful, somebody with the power of his father, with the power of the God of the universe. Except the guy who wields it now is evil, and I think we're seeing the seeds of what would lead to the new gods. This idea of if you have a pantheon where there's an all-powerful bad guy, that creates a pretty nice challenge for a superhero, where superheroes had sort of been the dominant species of the superhero genre, and so there were storytelling limits when your main character has the power of Superman and nobody really to challenge him. Kirby's coming up with people who are more than a match for his gods. Thor walks into the fire just as things are heating up. No pun intended. We switch over to the Pluto story, and now the Queen of the Amazons appears. So all the pieces are falling into place. And then the most important piece, this contract, this Faustian, sell your soul to the devil kind of contract that Pluto has. So we're laying, as Thor is, fighting for control of the universe, we're laying groundwork for, the next issue. This is definitely a middle chapter going on as we have this going on, because we're not gonna see what happens with Pluto and the Queen of the Amazons and this contract until next issue. But just really great to be laying that groundwork. And now Thor's face to face with Seedring, and he's got a force field that Thor can't penetrate. It's interesting, the parallel of their sort of chest armor. I don't know if there's anything there. Love this touch. Seedring pulls these 3 planetoids out of orbit, and then with a gesture, points them towards Thor. This is really great stuff. You can't take this for granted. The Kirby is doing visual invention in a genre and a medium that was extremely stale at the onset of the 60s. And now Thor's running away, and then the 3 planetoids bash into each other. And now Seedring makes this globule appear and swallow Thor. Thor struggles and then breaks free, but is, severely weakened. And now he's hurling debris at Seedring with his hammer, and then strikes as hard as he can at that force field with lightning, which doesn't break the force field, but definitely stuns Seedring. Thor runs to the Odin sword, which had been established in Tales of Asgard. And now we're seeing that, bear fruit in the, main current day story of Thor. As has already been established, if you pull the Odin sword out of its sheath and let it fall, the universe will be destroyed. So we have this situation here, and Seedring is doing everything he can to keep that from happening. And Thor says, Seedring, heed my words. Return the Odin power, or I drop the great sword. Thou knowest full well what such a move would mean. And know you this, I have the will to do it. So it's sort of, this is the Cold War. This is, the nuclear arms race, mutually assured destruction. So this is kind of, the Odin sword kind of symbolizes that, in this kind of, stalemate or calling each other's bluff kind of thing. And Thor is brave to the end. Seedring blinks. He does not call Thor's bluff and returns Odin's power back to him. Again, Odin looking in silhouette, extremely monstrous and intimidating, and Seadring runs away. Get thee from mine sight, thou base betrayer. Time in now to deal with thee later. For truly there be no place in the universe for thee to hide from mine vengeance. And Thor, that took every last bit out of him. But what of Thor? What of him who is my son? Consciousness hath fled from thy body. Thy ears hear not the words of Odin, words of him who hath judged thee too harshly. Though I am said to be all wise in all matter of things, my wisdom fled when I turned against thee, my son. For above all else, I hold this true. Thou art the noblest Asgardian of all. So yeah, ending with a nice silhouette. The panel that would follow immediately would be the cover of Odin stepping out with the body of his son. Again, great place to end a cliffhanger, and then great place to end a chapter in a eventual graphic novel. And you get a little glimpse of what's going to come next. This looks super fucking cool. This amazing Viking bed that Thor is kind of resting in. And yeah, the story, it just keeps getting better and better. Just when you think Jack and Stan have hit their peak, it just gets better and better. And that epic battle between Thor and Hercules was pretty great and a real landmark and one for the ages. But it's the sort of twists and turns that the story takes from there that make this whole graphic novel that's being told in this treasury, or this whole segment of the Thor story, into a stone cold classic. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Starr and the Solar Legion. And I'm also the author of WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic, which is currently in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign. We're getting very close to being fully funded, to meeting our goal. Big thank you to everybody who's been following this campaign and everybody who's contributed and helped spread the word to make this thing a reality. To find out more, follow the link in the show notes below. I'll see you next THORsday.